Greetings, everyone. I'm Jonathan Bailey from the site Plagiarism Today, which can be found at plagiarismtoday.com. And today I want to talk about what's probably the biggest copyright news story. It's kind of a slow news day for copyright, kind of odd for a Thursday, but the biggest story today that I found is that a New York judge has slammed a bunch of plaintiffs in the massive BitTorrent lawsuits and is basically only providing them the possibility of getting the information for one of the plaintiffs in each of the lawsuits rather than allowing them to seek the information for dozens or hundreds of potential plaintiffs in these cases. Basically, how these cases work is a plaintiff files a suit against hundreds of John Doe, hundreds, sometimes even thousands of John Does, identified only by their IP addresses. The goal is to get the judge to agree to allow them to subpoena the ISP to turn that IP address into human information, basically get the subscriber's personal data, and then send them these settlement demand letters, and hopefully, at least in the hopefully in the eyes of the plaintiff, settle these cases for a few $1,000s. And one of the big controversies I think I have with the extreme pro-copyright side is that I'm very much against these types of lawsuits. I'm very much against this. I'm not necessarily fond of the term copyright trolling, but I'm definitely against these lawsuits. And the reason's actually very simple. In my view, copyright is meant to be a means to an end. It's meant to be, you get this set of rights, and from those sets of rights, you have the ability to set up a business model from which you can profit from and earn a living from your work in a free market. The idea, though, is that they're turning copyright into the business model. This isn't a bunch of people saying, hey, how can we file lawsuits and protect our copyright, discourage piracy, reduce infringement, and that way support our actual business model. This is people saying, hey, if we sued a whole bunch of people, got a certain percentage to settle at this price, we can make millions. And that's not how litigation's supposed to work. That's not the purpose of it. And a good example is the RAAA, for all the controversy they caused when they were doing their mass lawsuits. They sued everyone individually, and they did it in a way that was not designed to earn a profit. In fact, they actually lost quite a bit of money on these lawsuits, and people making fun of that also are the same ones that are decrying the attempt to derive profit from these lawsuits, but I digress. But they lost money from it. But the goal of the lawsuits, their stated goals repeatedly, were not to earn money. They were to create a conversation. They were to make people more aware about these issues and thwart piracy and to blunt the edge of piracy. And there was a huge debate whether or not they actually blunted piracy at all. The RAAA seems to believe they had a positive impact, and they've got some numbers to prove it. I'm a little more skeptical. But there is no doubt they did create a conversation and increased awareness on these issues. I mean, you can't deny that fact. So on those two fronts, at least, the lawsuits were successful. But these are all about a profit motive. They're not about actually stopping or slowing piracy. In fact, they need piracy to continue in order for this campaign to be successful. And that, to me, is kind of unfortunate. I don't think piracy is something that we should be building the business model off of, but something we should be trying to reduce to establish better, healthier business models for the marketplace. So that's my reasoning. And I've got to say, the other reason I worry about these lawsuits is because judges aren't very fond of them. And when judges aren't fond of lawsuits or fond of litigation tactics, they try to find reasons to throw them out, to thwart them. And in doing so, they sometimes give rulings which are extremely dangerous to other more legitimate cases. And I fear that's going to happen. I haven't really seen it happen per se in this case, but I worry about it in this style of cases. So I am definitely against the quote-unquote copyright trolling lawsuits. Those are my reasons. You're free to disagree or agree or whatever. But I definitely don't like that personal tactic, and I think there's a lot that's very suspicious and very worrisome about it. And for the RAAA, for all the criticism they got, they did file individually, they didn't seek a profit, and they did actually litigate these cases. The Tenenbaum and the Thomas Rassett cases, both are already through several trials and are currently on appeal. So they obviously had intent to litigate at least some number of those cases. Bottom line, I'm not surprised by this. The judges have been upset about it. My hope and my plea, though, is that the judges will take the time and consider the impact their rulings could have on other non-trolling copyright cases before they issue a ruling. That's all I wanted to say on that. So on that note, everyone, this is Jonathan Bailey signing off.